How's it going, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today, we're going to be talking with Jackie Herring. She is a professional triathlete from Madison, Wisconsin. She has been around, obviously, for a while. Depending on when this episode airs, she has been just recently racing at the T100 in Miami as a wild card holder for the T100 race series. So super awesome there. Today's conversation just circles for the first 30 minutes or so around who Jackie is as a person, a lot of the deep values that she holds as it relates to religion and family and just life lessons she's learned. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Jackie Herring. Good deal. So how's Jackie doing today?
I'm doing good. I had a big swim, much bigger than I planned on.
Okay.
Yeah, and a jog and tried to eat 5 bites of food, so pretty good.
Yeah, good for you. Where are you at right now? What time is it?
It's noon. I'm
Okay.
in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Is it gray out today?
it was gray. Yeah, the sun's trying to come out. Um, but yeah, and we're in this weird, like, partial spring, maybe winter will return at any
Yeah,
moment type
fall
of thing.
spring, the first
Yeah.
fall spring of the year. We have those in Tennessee too. We're definitely in our
Yeah.
fall spring.
Yeah.
How long was your swim this morning?
I did 5.5K,
Nice.
and our family, so I have two little kids, we have been battling sickness, and
Hmm.
we spent the whole weekend on the couch. And so I hadn't swam in a couple days, and actually yesterday I did nothing either because I still was like, meh. And I showed up to swim, and the guy I was swimming with had this like kind of hard, like a bunch of hard hundreds and fifties. So
Oh
it
wow.
was a good swim, like a good welcome back swim
Yeah.
for my body. Good old
Mm,
shock.
yeah, a little jolt back to the system. That's so funny. So I'm in Tennessee and a lot of our friends have been sick, but I was down last to the end of the week. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were the worst, and then Monday I kind of took off as well. I don't know what it was, but I got back from Arizona, and I guess some of the pollen started moving around with the fall spring
Mm,
thing, and then it
yeah.
just laid me on my face. My HRV every day. I don't know if you use Whoop or any of those fitness trackers, but it was like, then crashed on the weekend. So I sympathize and empathize with the wild, hard weekend. So sorry about that, especially with kids.
Yeah. There's a lot of time on the couch, which is fine, I guess.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. How old are your kids?
I've got a 6 and almost 8.
Okay.
So yeah, they pick up a lot of germs at school, and it can get kind of gnarly sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, knock on wood, we've been fairly lucky over the last year. But with the HRV and the watch thing, when I know either when they're sick or when I'm getting sick,
Yeah.
I actually just take my Garmin off because
Mm.
it is offensive to me for it to keep telling me that, like, you're a pile of
You're
crap. You
dying. You're
need to not,
dying. You're
yeah, don't
dying.
do anything.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
No, I totally understand that. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, so there's so many things I want to go into. And as the podcast airs, I will have a little intro into you so people will know a little bit, at least from my perspective, who Jackie is. But I would love for you in this first kind of big opener question to answer the question, who is Jackie from your perspective?
From my perspective, who am I? I think I am a lifelong athlete. I am a mom. I am somebody who I just love triathlon. I love
Yeah.
being outside. I love exercising, and um, somebody who is, I'm really lucky to be able to still be doing triathlon and still doing this sport.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, lifelong, when, like, did you fall out of the womb wanting to swim, bike, and run, or when was this introduced to you?
I believe I was in the womb,
Swimming.
swimming
Yeah,
literally every day with my mother.
really.
And then I believe I came out, and she probably put me in there whenever it was safe to put a baby in the water.
Wow.
And yeah, I was like the little water girl. I had to ride my bike by my mom all the time when she was running, carrying the water bottle. And I just, I think it was just like a lifestyle that was just, it wasn't, my dad didn't really do it, but it was
Sure.
just my mom was just exercising every day, and it just seemed a very, like, that's just what you do in your life. And
Yeah.
I was a pretty like self-motivated, driven little kid, and I just love doing sport, love just ripping all around town. I grew up in a small town, and you could just ride everywhere on your bike, just be gone all day long riding bikes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think in a very loose way, a lifelong athlete. I was not I was no Lucy Charles, I wasn't like a super serious junior athlete,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just love sport and just participated in everything.
Yeah. For sure. So on your mom's side, or with your mom and your dad, you said your mom had just this mentality of like that's what you do. Was that introduced to her by her family, or was it like a rite of passage, or how did she get into that mindset?
I don't know. I think that's just how she was. I think she was just a sporty lady.
Mm,
My grandma, I think generationally, like, just didn't exercise. I don't think it was a big thing for women back then. I mean, my grandma's like 95 right now.
wow, she's still alive. Good for her.
Still alive. She's
That's awesome.
crushing. Tough old German lady.
Oh
Um,
wow, she's got some stories then.
she's got good stories, but generationally, it wasn't like women were not really doing much. But I think my mom's generation, yeah, she's always been sporty.
Yeah. What about your dad? You said that he doesn't share quite as in the extreme level of it. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think he was a good runner in his own right if he wanted
Okay.
to, but it wasn't like anything I ever really saw him doing. He wasn't like living the most healthy lifestyle, I'd say, as we
Yeah.
were growing up.
What about now?
What about now?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, my mom's still doing it, and my dad is like no longer with us. So
I'm
at the
sorry.
end, though, he started to like bike a little bit as he got a little bit older,
Sure.
um, but my mom is still like, she's crushing those 60-year-olds in the running races,
Yeah.
and she'll do a try every now and then with like no training, and
Yeah.
she does fine.
That's awesome. What does she do for work?
She's trying to be retired.
Okay. Yeah. That usually
Yeah.
doesn't go well for most people. I have never heard of really of someone like, oh yeah, I'm in retirement and I love it.
Yeah, well, I don't think she'll fully ever do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
She does some like one-off like swim lessons for people, and
Okay.
she does some things here and there.
Sure.
Yeah.
So do you have siblings?
I have siblings. Wow, are we gonna hash out? I mean, we don't need to hash out my whole family tree here.
Is that okay? I mean, so it's a little bit of a strategy that I use to get people to like kind of be familiar with, hey, I'm going to have you on here not just to talk about what you do, but I want to know who you are. So if you don't want me to dive into it, I definitely won't. But it's a little bit of a strategy to kind of get in the chronological order up to like modern day and then ask some deeper questions if that's okay.
We can do it. I mean, my family's kind of a messy. Um, it's not my happiest topics, but
Sure.
we can. Yes, I have a sister. Me and my sister are buds.
Okay.
She lives like a mile from me, and we have daughters that are about the same age, and that's all good. She's, um, I guess I can't say she's single right now, but I'll keep people posted in case they're interested.
Okay. We'll link her Instagram and Facebook below if anybody
I'll let
has
you
any
know.
interest. Yeah.
Yeah. My brother also lives close by, but we aren't really in close touch. Don't know what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can empathize a little bit with that. My family's I am more in contact now, but for the longest time, me and my sister were quite at odds. She grew up 4 years younger than me, and then my youngest sister was 12 years younger than me. So we all made life decisions in a very different way, obviously, but at different times in life. And it's interesting me having a conversation with even now my youngest sister. She's 19, and she's making some of these big life decisions that I would probably be like, hun, or I am like, I don't agree with that, but letting her do what she needs to do. Because I actually also lost my dad when I was really young, so it created this interesting dynamic. But not to get into my story too much, but yeah, I can understand a little bit of the family dynamic, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess I shouldn't say, every family is a little bit messy in some type of way, right?
Hmm.
Like we all have our situations and for different reasons.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, it is weird sorting through the dynamics of siblings and parents and all
Yeah.
that, but work in progress
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah. How long have you been married? Because you have two kids, you said 8 and
Yep, I've
2.
been married well, I don't know. I think going on 10 years.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's going great. Mark is good. He's the lifesaver for me.
Hmm.
Um, Brought me to the good side, so
Yeah. How did you
that's
guys
good.
meet?
We met in a swimming pool.
Nice. This
It's a
seems to
great
be a theme.
story. Yeah, swimming's good. Um, yeah, I was at a swimming pool around here where um, I don't know, I was living at the time and I saw a super fit, really fit guy,
Hmm.
like near drowning, going from one end to the other. And I was like, what is wrong with that guy? So I asked his buddy, I was like,
I love it.
hey, what is up with your friend? Like, what is wrong with him? And his friend's like, oh man, he like signed up for a triathlon and now he's got to try to learn how to swim. So
Yeah.
yeah, we became friends, all three of us. Mark is my husband's name, and this other guy, Tom. We all became friends and then training partners for several years.
Yeah. Was this like 12 years ago? So you knew each other for a couple of years, or is it like a love at first sight? Let's get married next month type of thing.
Oh man, we didn't even date. We were friends, like just friends and training partners because I had a different boyfriend.
Oh,
We were friends and training partners for I think like 3 years before we started dating then.
okay.
So yeah, it was a long process, and I think that's why we're good now is we had like a lot of years of friendship
Yeah.
before we went down the road.
Yeah. When I think back on my life, some of the greatest advice that was ever given to me that I totally ignored until I was much older in life and could appreciate it was like be friends with a lot of people first, especially in college, and get to know a lot of people rather than just going for the dating thing. Totally
Hmm.
not what I did. But you get to know, you get to see people's colors in, I would say, a pretty well rounded way when you're friends with someone because they're not trying to impress and they're not trying to, receive anything in specific. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of good wisdom in that for sure.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I kept trying to um, set him up on dates and all
Oh,
this
really?
stuff, and um, it was interesting seeing how he would react in those
Yeah.
situations, which should have been a flag that to not date him, but
Yeah.
instead, I don't know. I guess I figured it wouldn't happen to me.
Did you have any success with getting him on other dates before you dated him?
Yeah, I set
Okay.
him up. Yeah, he had a few. But he would always just like ghost them. And I'm like, yo, you have to like call her back. She's calling you. You got to tell her what happened. He'd be like, no, I don't want, I'm not. So he
Not
was pretty
interested.
bad.
Oh, wow, that's so funny. Good
uh,
deal. Um, yeah, were you about to say something before I go on to the next thing?
no.
Okay. Um, so you talked a little bit about, and I don't want to like dig into all of your past and the hardships that happened, but I do want to ask the question. It sounds like you've been through a lot. I don't know how old you were when you lost your dad, but those are big things that looking at you now, you seem like you've got yourself pretty well put together. You have a goal and a vision and a direction. How have those things shaped and molded you into the mindset and the current person you are today?
That's a great question. Yeah, I lost my dad. What it was 2000. I'm not even remembering the year. How terrible. It was like 2011 or 12.
Okay, so not that long ago.
So yeah, I mean, I was in my 20s and it was kind of a pivotal time for me
Sure.
because I had been doing triathlon, I had been having different boyfriends, and it really did change me and it set me into this kind of personal growth phase and mindset shift that was like life um life is actually short,
Hmm.
and you have to make you have to care for yourself, care for your body, and make decisions that support a healthy life. I was doing a lot of questionable things still back then, and it really caused me to like kind of have that like smack in the face. You need to get yourself together here.
Hmm.
So yeah, since then, that's kind of when I got to be dating Mark, and kind of started going back to church and really like just making better choices in
Hmm.
general. And yeah, and it helped me just become more free and be myself as a person overall, and just not not care so much what people think or
Hmm.
follow XYZ plan because you're supposed to. It gave me a lot more freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So, a follow up question: when you were, it sounds like you were in your 20s when you lost your dad. Prior to that, were you already on this road of kind of making decisions and going in a direction that wasn't what you would consider healthy, and then it just that event accelerated those things? Or was it something where because of that you were like, and then it just kind of sent you on kind of a downward trajectory until you met Mark?
Um, well, no, I was doing a bunch of stupid stuff um, in college, and that's probably why I was always an athlete, but I was
Hmm.
always like a pretty medium athlete because of the
Sure.
extracurriculars that I was doing. And that's life. I had a lot of stuff I didn't know how to deal with,
Yeah.
and I think that I was making choices to try and get over it the
Sure.
best I could. And after my dad, and I think my age, and really it was like at that time, to help me, Mark invited me to church with him.
Hmm.
And truly, like, that was, I think the change was really that.
Wow.
It was like, you have a place to go.
Yeah.
So,
Did you grow up in a religious household where like church was something you did a lot?
yeah, we did. Yeah, I mean, I did Sunday school, confirmation, like the whole nine. I used to go on summer camps and all this stuff. So
Sure.
I think it was deep down in me,
Hmm.
and I knew about it, and I knew a lot of the stories and all that. But I think like many people, you kind of lose track of that in high
Hmm.
school and especially into college. It's really easy to just lose focus on that and just get into other things.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I come from a pretty religious upbringing. Although my parents were first generation like Christian, other than that, like they had some pretty wild ways that they lived until they were about 18 for my mom, and then late 20s or mid early 20s actually for my dad. Um, so I grew up with kind of this influence, but it was spotty still because they were kind of swinging back into the old ways of their old lives and then coming back into this. So I got to see this pretty clear, like black and white, which is interesting because as kids, and I'm sure you can relate to this, it's like under a certain age threshold, everything is really black and white to you. Even though you may not agree with your parents and you argue with them, at least in my case, they're always seen as like, okay, well, they know what's right ultimately, and you have this belief, or I have this belief system. But then after you get a little bit older, like, hold on, like, that's not actually the case. They really didn't know everything that they had going on. They did have some wisdom in there, but how do I weigh those things? So it's really interesting that you say that because a lot of my friends now, I'm 31, and a lot of my core friends that I had growing up have kind of splintered off into very different walks of life. So it's been interesting to try to chew on that and understand um, where they're going and why. Yeah. Any thoughts on that before I ask another question?
Oh, man, I mean, I can have a lot of thoughts on that. It is crazy. It's like life is going to take you on this path, and you
Mm-hmm.
never know when, you know, I had the same thing with a lot of friends I grew up with in the church and outside of the church. And I went to public school, and I think that was a big influence on me
Sure.
is the people that I was around a lot. And I think that matters. Kind of who you're around, especially as a teenager and college kid, who you're around most is going to influence you way more than your parents are going to influence you
Mm,
at that age. So that's what it was for me. And
yeah.
I'm so glad that I got to find my way back, circle
Yeah.
back on the path.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy too. It seems, I mean, I don't know you super well, but I feel like I'm on my way, and it seems like you and Mark have a good trajectory for life. And now that you have kids, I'm wondering, are there any changes that you are wanting to make as a mom and in parenting styles to kind of help guide them in a different sort of path? Will you send them to public school? Do you maybe going to send them to like a private school? Like what kind of thoughts are going through your mind?
Yeah, they're at private right now. They're at a Christian school. And that was actually a very easy decision because they started school during COVID times,
Oh yeah.
and the private schools were the only ones that were open.
Mm,
And around here, they were the first ones that were going to get a little looser on the mask situation. And I
yeah.
don't know if you've ever seen a small child trying to wear a mask, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like what's the
It's
point?
just like a kid's like, what in the world? Like, they're not keeping that on their
Yeah.
face. So, yeah.
Let them
So
go
we don't need
outside
to
and eat
go.
dirt. They'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what? We don't need to go down that road, but it worked out pretty well and pretty smoothly to start
Sure.
at that time. So we did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so I have so many questions, but because we kind of dove into this, the religious side of things, because I wrote down some specific questions because your Instagram bio says, I think, um, mom times three, God and family is like right up there in the top piece of your bio. So now that we're on this topic, I have four questions. There are what, where, who, and why, and they all have to do with God. So I would love for you to give me your opinion on your thoughts, beliefs, whatever. What is God to you? Where is God to you? Who is God to you? And why is God who you understand him to be?
Whoa. That question makes me nervous because I don't feel like I know everything, but I guess that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
there's no
okay,
expectation.
I know. Say the first one again.
So
I
the
need
first
to.
one is what is God to you?
Okay. God to me is um, God the Father. God is the one who came to die for our sins so that we can all go to heaven. I think God represents what allows us to feel peace on a daily basis and allows us to not not worry because all of our worries are taken care of.
Hmm. Solid, good answer. So where is God to you?
God is all around us. God is everywhere. Um, I especially feel God when I'm out, outside, out in nature, and I think that's why I love being able to do what I do so much is when I get to spend time, especially alone, out on the trails or just outside on my bike is when I really feel the best.
Yeah. What is it about the being out in the nature thing that like kind of draws you into that headspace, you think?
I think it's just removing all the noise of everyday life.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a person who listens to stuff all the time when
Hmm.
I don't listen at all when I bike, but half the time when I run I don't listen either, and I think it just gives you time to just be out there and just see what comes up, and then yeah, time to think and be open. And I think if you don't make time for that, you're never going to hear God speaking to you.
Yeah. When is the last time you felt like you heard God speaking to you?
Well, it's been a while because I mean, I haven't been running much because I've been hurt, but
Yeah. The
I
pinky
mean, I
toe.
felt a lot of good vibes. It's hard because I ask questions, like I drop questions, and sometimes it feels like the answers, I just trust that the answers are coming from the right place,
Hmm.
right? So so it's never any real specific thing, but when I feel like unsure about something and I put it out there to God and I pray about it, and then I feel like an answer come, or I feel like content with an answer, then I feel like that is God assisting me on the path.
Yeah. Sounds like you seek for almost like a level of peace in that answer, and if it brings you that, then you kind of move forward in that way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any life decisions that you've come across where you had to make a decision, let's just say 2 or 3 options, and you did not have peace about any of them, but you chose a direction and went with it?
Oh, probably. Yeah. I mean, we have to make a million decisions, but you also have to just trust whatever decision you make,
Yeah.
it's going to work out how
Yeah.
it's meant to anyways.
Yeah.
So can't overthink it.
Yeah, for sure. That was a concept that I think because of my personality being more one of a self-driven kind of a person, it was always easier for me to make decisions. But I noticed for a lot of my friends that it has been hard for them, not all of them, but certain ones with certain personality traits, to make a decision and kind of get stuck in this place where it's like, oh, any of these could be a horrible decision. But the belief that I've taken up, and I think it is directly correlated with kind of what we're talking about, this relationship with an all-powerful being, is that if I truly trust him or that force to be a guiding light in my life, no decision I can make could forever like cut off that guidance, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like there's always a way around. Even like I don't have any kids, but I see some of my friends and their parenting with younger children, and their kids will make a decision that's not necessarily the best one. Maybe they hurt themselves or whatever, but they always have multiple other plan B, C, D, E, and F to like get to that goal. So yeah, interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So the last one of that, or I think we said where. Did I ask you who is God to you? I don't think I asked that one yet.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I might have answered that.
Yeah. You kind of answered it with the what, but feel free to elaborate.
Isn't what and who kind of the same with this situation?
Yeah, I guess so. These are the first time I wrote down these questions, so they're not perfect by any means. So yeah, who is, what is? Yeah, we can go on to the next one. So the last one then is, why is God who you understand him to be?
Why is God? This is what I've been led to understand and believe, and this is just what I believe. I believe that God, I believe Jesus from the Bible. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a real eloquent answer for that, except that I feel very content and sure in my belief in God, and I get a lot of comfort just knowing that I'm not alone on a daily basis going through life.
Yeah. Does that give you a sense of purpose and direction in what you're doing professionally, like as a triathlete even?
Yeah, it does sometimes. I don't know about necessarily purpose and direction, but it just gives me peace that no matter what happens, it doesn't define me. Like no result, no amount of money, no anything like that. It just doesn't really matter. It's just kind of part of the journey. Whatever happens is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I just need to make the best of it and show up the best I can. And it's all part of my larger plan.
Yeah, for sure. Great answers. Well, thank you so much for diving into some of those. I know that can be somewhat uncomfortable and not super common, and especially I think in any space really with podcasting. But I really appreciate you taking the jump to answer some of those extremely vulnerable questions for me.
Yeah, no worries. I wish I had no idea this topic was gonna be part of this, or I might have had a little more like eloquent, professional sounding answers.
No,
but
I think
that's
it's
okay.
good.
And that's where it doesn't matter, is you don't have to know it all to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, if we all always had a chance to be prepared for what we were going to talk about, that it would take away some of the actual flavor and true understanding. Because, I did think about that as I was writing these questions and some of the other questions I asked guests, but I think that there's really something to be said about the off the cuff, what comes to mind, because it really lays down a set of beliefs rather than a set of ideals. Because I want to know, like, I want people, the reason I started this podcast and has become even more of this is to like allow people to an indoor window and to see who these professional athletes or business owners or music artists are at the core rather than just what's on Instagram. Because, you know,
Yeah.
especially in the professional athlete world, even more so in the triathlete world, it's like, yeah, here I am. I'm running, biking, and swimming today. But I want to know more. I want to know, like, okay, well, who is Jackie off camera? What's her kids like? So, you know, what's her motivations in life? Where does she get the strength for that? Why does she do triathlon? So, yeah, I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
So I want to go back to some other questions that are going to lead a little bit more into who you are as a person, and then we'll jump into the triathlon stuff. But I would love to know, what is your favorite song? Do you have one?
Song.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm in love with that new Pitbull Dolly Parton song.
I didn't even know Dolly Parton and Pitbull did a song together, but
You
that's
have to
awesome.
listen to it.
Okay.
It's like the perfect mesh for me because I'm somewhere between just like, you know, Pitbull.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
the exact mesh. And I'm
Yeah.
like half Pitbull, half country.
That's so funny. Is it like, what's the song about, if I may ask?
I mean, I don't even know. I can't remember. It's like, oh, it's like working 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah, Nine
Oh,
to Five.
it's great. It's so good. I just think it's so funny.
I'll make sure to link it in the show notes for sure. It seems like an
Yeah.
interesting song. I didn't know. That's quite the collab. I want to know who pitched that idea.
Oh,
That's wild.
I think it was at the Super Bowl or something, but
Oh, okay.
another one I always like, one of my like repeat life songs
Mm.
is that Dirk Bentley Burning Man. Is that the one?
I haven't heard it. I haven't even
You
heard
don't know
Dirk
that
Bentley.
song either? Oh, that's a
I'm
great
not well
song. You
enough
should know
versed.
that one. You're in Tennessee.
Dirk Bentley. What's his last name?
Bentley Burning Man.
I'm looking it up right now.
That's a
Dirk
great song.
Bentley. Yeah, I grew up on a lot of country music because of my mother. Like, so I was singing Shania Twain and I Feel Like a Woman when I was very young, and all these songs and
That
all of
seems
that.
questionable. Yeah.
It does seem questionable. So I know all of like the 90s, early 2000s country music, but today I don't sing it as much. But it's interesting because there's a lot of like this song with Pitbull, a lot of these new collaborations between pop, whatever you want to call that, and then
Yeah.
swinging into country. Country's got a long way to go yet, and it's always been from the heart. A lot of stories being told, like that you can
Yeah.
understand actually. So I appreciate that. So getting into like triathlon aspects of stuff, I want to know, how old were you when you were like, okay, well, I'm no longer going to be just a medium athlete. I'm going to get into triathlon, and like, tell me that journey from that point to when you became a professional, or maybe that was like very close, or was it long?
I was still a medium athlete as a professional.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, depends what your definition of medium athlete is.
Yeah. Well, that's a professional athlete. I wouldn't consider anything medium, but to the average Joe as myself.
There's a lot of medium pros out there,
Yeah.
but I was one of them once as
Yeah.
well. So I'm not just throwing shade. I was there.
Okay.
Um, when I did a triathlon. When was this? Right out of college. So I hadn't even heard or known anything about triathlon until um one of the like the second summer after sophomore year of college is when
Okay.
I like heard of it, and I borrowed a bike and did a sprint try, and that was just fun.
Yeah.
A couple years later, a boyfriend got me a nicer bike, and
Wow. What a boyfriend.
yeah, he worked at a bike shop, so it was very handy
Oh,
for him.
nice.
Plus, he was training for Ironman,
Mm,
so I was like, all right, the only way to hang out is to exercise with this guy. So I got this bike, and I was like, all right, I'll do a half Ironman, and did it, and it was fine, and I think I did pretty well. And then I think he was like, wow, you're pretty good. You should do Ironman. I said, okay, I'll do Ironman.
wow.
So,
How old were you at
and
this point?
um, 23.
Okay, yeah, so you were on down the
Um,
road a little bit.
I was like, all right, I'll do the Ironman. And, I was a swimmer. I swam a couple years in college. So I was not scared, or there wasn't like a thing about,
The water.
I wasn't scared of the swimming of
Yeah,
Ironman. And I think if you're not scared of that,
you get it.
you can just do it.
Yeah.
So all I had to do was learn how to ride my bike for 5 hours, and
No big deal.
that was a bit of a process. But anyhow, I did that Ironman, and I ended up qualifying for Kona at that race. And he was like, "Wow, we should get you some sponsors." I was like, "Yo, I got a job." Um, but he got me on the Timex team,
Okay, cool.
which was awesome. And
Yeah.
that was for me, like, I learned so much. Getting on that team right away um, was a humongous deal for me, and a huge stepping stone that I actually learned what triathlon was, um, who's doing triathlon, what are we doing, how do we do it. I learned everything from that
Wow.
team. And
Is the
I ended
Timex
up,
team still around? Sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious. I didn't think they
no,
were.
they're
Okay.
not around anymore. They kind of went away and then became the Sunto team.
Okay.
I don't know if Sunto still exists or if there's something else now. They might be like that Octagon. It keeps kind of changing into something else now.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I did Kona as an age grouper. You know, my training, I had a full-time job. My training was, I don't even remember what. I was probably swimming maybe twice a week.
Wow.
Like I was pretty loosely going, whatever. But I think I either won my age group or got second that year at Kona, and
Sheesh.
and then they're like, "Oh, you're gonna go pro." I'm like, I don't even freaking know what I'm doing, so no, I'm not going pro. So then I raced. I did another year age group, and I was like, all right, let's see if I can like learn how to ride this bike.
Yeah.
I was still like not, I would not consider any reasonable training was happening. I was still just being me, riding my bike whenever. Yeah, so things were pretty loose. I was doing well, but I think it was just based on having an actual whole life of swimming
Hmm.
and just being like maybe a good runner.
Yeah. Relatively fit.
And like I like to eat a lot. So I think with those things combined,
Is the job for me?
yes, like I can do this. So it seemed to work itself out. And then after Kona, I did a couple, like 4 Ironmans that year or something crazy,
Wow.
and ended up doing Kona again and did well again. I think, I don't know, whatever place I got, doesn't matter. Did good. And then I was like, okay, now I'll go pro. And at that time, I was still on Timex. Timex was awesome. That's when Timex team was rocking.
Mm.
And they're like, we support you. We're going to pay you. And they like took like
Wow.
the best care of me that any like brand new pro could ever have. So I was very, very lucky in the way that I got started. And it really set me off on a really positive foot that I felt like, of course, I still kept my job.
What was your
Let's be
job?
serious. I was a pharmaceutical chemist.
Wow.
Very nerdy stuff.
Super nerd. That's awesome though. But that's
Yeah.
can you talk to me a little bit about that before we go into the other stuff? Because I have questions. But pharmaceutical chemist, I don't know many kids are like, I want to go be a pharmaceutical chemist.
That is not what I wanted to do. Um, I was a I was thinking I would go to more school after college, but I ended up just being such a delinquent and drinking and doing too many other bad things that I could not go to more school after college because I screwed it up.
Wow.
So I, anyways, was decent enough to get a job. So I got, yeah. So I was like a biomed. I had minors in chemistry and Spanish. Did manage to graduate in 4 years though. So yes,
Good for you.
at least I did
Much
that.
better than my 6 or 7.
Oh, you must be a doctor. No.
Nope, definitely not. Not even close.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So yeah, so I just got that. Honestly, it was literally like just a job
Yeah.
that used some of the stuff that I learned in college. That's pretty much all it was.
So we don't have to go too deep into it, but I want to describe what I think that it is that you did, just like what it looked like in the morning, and then
Yeah,
you tell me how far I'm off, because I'm sure it is.
I will.
So you wake up, you get your coffee, you're going into work. I almost imagine you scrubbing in and doing like a air bath where you're changing into specific clothing, and then you're going and working through a checklist of, let's see what happens when we put these two things together, and we want to synthesize this, and you're working with beakers and centrifuges and stuff. Is that anything accurate?
A lot of that is accurate. Yeah, when you go into lab, you glove, you put on the coat, you put on the glasses, and yeah, you got your bench and yeah, you're working through either a set um directions of like what you're trying to test or yeah, you're trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah. So
So I did kind of there was parts of it I enjoyed. Um but yeah, the it was a little rigid for me.
yeah, I would imagine so. So you were excited to leave this when the opportunity came, when Timex was just stashing your pockets with all that cash in these races, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, so how it actually went is my pockets were not stashed with cash. Um, I was working that job. I had a nice at eventually after a couple years got a really good boss that was like, "Hey, you can cut back your hours. You can go to, 30 hours, keep your benefits." And he was really flexible. I could do my workouts during the day. He's like, pretty much do your work whenever you want.
Wow,
And
that's
I was
awesome.
like, all right, great deal. Cause I'm going to ride during the middle of the day when it's warm and then I'll come back. I don't care. I was a single person
Yeah,
at that time. You can do whatever. So I was like, I'll just work
whenever
in
I
the
want.
evenings because I got nothing else to do. Don't care. Um, so it worked for a little bit. And then there came a time when I was just wanting to race a little bit more. And I was like, you know what? People are now like kind of, I was the ripe age of like 26 or something. I
Mm-hmm.
know so many things I can now coach people. So yeah. So I saw a need in our area. We have an Ironman here in Madison, and a whole bunch of people sign up and they don't know how to swim. So at that time, I decided to started an open water swim business
Cool.
and just started doing some swim coaching. And that plus I was making money racing kind of bridged the gap, I guess. And I quit my job.
Nice. Were you
Yeah.
excited or nervous when you did that? Or both?
I was excited, I guess. Yeah, I was excited just to have more time and flexibility and like ownership of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said 26 at that age?
I think that was about then. Yeah.
Okay. So then what was your goal? Like, you became pro, so your new horizon, what was the new focus, the dream, the thing that you were going towards as a professional?
I never thought too hard about it. I think the dream was to win a race. Um, Maybe someday. But I think the dream was mostly the lifestyle, the
Yeah.
flexibility, the time, and the lifestyle was the main. Honestly, when I quit my job and I could pay my bills, I was like, oh my gosh, I made it. I'm doing it. Like
Wow. Yeah.
that was
That's the win.
that was the thing for me. I couldn't see how it could get much better than that.
Yeah. How many wins and or podiums have you had since you started in the professional world?
I don't know. Um, I won one Ironman. So I haven't done an Ironman since 2015, but I won Ironman Wisconsin way back in 20 something,
Yeah.
2013, maybe.
Yeah. That's a hard
Long
race,
time.
by the way. For those who may not know, I did that for the first time this past year, and it wrecked my soul.
Yeah, it is hard, hey? Did you have good weather or bad?
So the year before was the world's worst weather. The year that I did it was actually pretty decent weather. But I fueled wrong, and about 3/4 of the way through the bike, I was like, all right, here we go, long day right ahead, and it all fell apart in the run
Oh
and took
yeah.
like 4 hours. Yeah, it was a long time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, it's very hilly one. So if you don't eat enough, then you're in trouble.
yeah, yeah. It was surprisingly hilly because I'm from Tennessee and North Carolina, so I'm used to like hills. But it was so interesting there. It's like flat, 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 and like this super deep gully, and then a super steep climb. And I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
crazy. But not to get into my story too much. So you've won one Ironman. Now, obviously, you're focusing more on kind of the middle distance or the halves, and obviously the T100 wild card slot you just got. Um, have you had wins in those categories?
Yeah, I don't like keep like a running tally of this type of stuff. But I've won several 70.3s.
Yeah.
I've won at least I won Clash Daytona, I think.
Can I? I have to ask a question, Jackie. So I've talked to a lot of different professionals now, and it seems from my experience, talking to probably over 40 of them now, that you are set apart with not keeping track of these things. And I'm wondering if it's a key to your success because you seem very like, yeah, I mean, if it happens, it happens. I mean, you're racing in like the T100. Were you, when they reached out to you, were you like, oh, cool? Or were you like, oh, I'm so pumped?
I was like, okay. No, I'm
I'm going to tag him and reel this. No, I'm just kidding.
no, don't.
Jackie's
No,
stoked, everybody. Check it out.
I didn't think that a roll down would come all the way down to me because I had such a bad year last year that I'm ranked like 40 something. And so I've thought that it was unlikely. Also, I haven't been running because I had a broken toe and then
Yeah.
a tendon issue. I ran, this is like, uh, I mean, I almost felt bad taking it because I thought someone else probably is in much better shape
Shape.
to take it from me because I think I went on my sixth run today for the year.
Pinky toes
So
holding up.
toes fine.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
I think I'll be
Or
fine.
tendon.
Um, so I mostly I was like looking at flights just to go down there and be there and check it out. Like I'm just a huge triathlon fan,
Yeah.
and I've done almost all the PTO races so far, and
It's awesome.
it's just a super cool environment. Being
Mm.
around all of the best people for me just like makes me feel like really motivated, like really pumped, like wow,
Yeah.
these are the top people. This is it's just cool. So I was just pumped when they said like, "Hey, yo, we'll pay for your trip down there."
Wow.
They gave us a pretty good deal. It was like don't think I've signed anything not to disclose this, but it was like $1,000 travel money plus, a minimum. I think if you get last place, it's like 2,500 prize money.
Wow, that's
And
like
for
better
me,
than
I was
any
like,
other race on the circuit.
I'm like, okay, so you're gonna pay for me to go down there, be able to check out this thing I wanted to see anyways,
Mm.
and I needed, I've been swimming and biking, so it'll be a good training day. Obviously, I'm going to try my hardest. I
Yeah.
don't want to get last, but
Yeah.
there's a possibility I will, and I'm at peace with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I think that's really good. One thing I really like about the PTO, like you're saying, is like you can, if you now, I guess in the new format, if you get chosen to go race, you're not stressing if your paycheck is going to necessarily come from where you finish at. I think that that adds an unnecessary level of stress to athletes, professional athletes, because we're always trying to tell each other, tell ourselves that we're better than our performance, but in a very real sense, for the longest time, a lot of professional athletes has been directly tied to a number in a placement and then numbers in your bank account, which is like, it's unfortunate. I think where every sport has to come from as it grows, but it seems really like a real mental game changer for you guys now to have this opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think, even looking at heading to Ironman races later in the year, there is a level of stress. Like when you book, like I just booked some flights to Hamburg for an Ironman.
Yeah.
when you're dropping all this money up front and it's just such a unknown, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Uh, am I going to break even?
Yeah.
How's it going to go? Removing that stress, yeah, it does free you up a little bit.
Yeah. So when you heading down to Miami?
Well, I was meant to be going today actually, but I switched the flight to tomorrow because of the family being so sick. I was like, all right, I
Oh,
need like a buffer day
yeah.
to get all the way better and make
Yeah.
sure, I'm not traveling with all these germs.
Yeah. 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 For sure. I have to ask the question of your pinky toe and tendon journey. How did you mess it up? Because I saw that in your most recent YouTube video, and I think also on Instagram. What
Yeah.
happened? And yeah.
Oh, it was in January. I was just walking through the living room,
Oh,
which you don't have small kids, but if you have kids, there's like stuff everywhere.
yeah.
Toys, all bunch of crap. I'm not like a clean freak or anything.
Sure.
So we rescued these kittens recently, and we have this big like cat tree thing up in the middle of the
Yeah.
living room, and I just like walked straight into it. Like my foot went this way, and my pinky toe
Oh,
went that way.
my stomach hurts thinking about it.
Oh, it hurt. And I kick stuff all the time, so
Yeah.
my family's used to me walking around just saying "ow, ow,"
Yeah.
and it hurt so bad. I knew immediately, like it was like something really got hurt,
Yeah.
and I couldn't walk on it. I
Oh,
couldn't walk normal for a long time. So
wow. What did they do for
yeah.
the broken toe? There was no surgery?
Oh, pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
It's like at first I tried to like just let it be and not you don't want to walk on it or do too much. And then I went and got x-rays just to make sure it wasn't like displaced or something too wrong with it, but pretty much it's nothing. Our big like foot and ankle guy who we're friends with because my husband used to be in orthopedic sales.
Oh, nice.
He pretty much just said like you need to wear Crocs around your house and don't kick more stuff and just you know give the toe space, don't jam it in shoes.
So is it noticeably different forever now? Your pinky
I
toe?
don't think so. I mean, it still does look kind of got a funky little bump on it now,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not giving me any more problems.
Well, it didn't turn black and it didn't fall off and it's still on your foot, so that's good.
It was pretty black, but it did not fall off. It
Yeah.
turned back to normal color.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So a part of that journey I read or I listened, I cannot remember where, but you were swimming 20 plus K a week for the past 6 or 7 weeks now. So you grew up swimming. Have you noticed that this level of swimming has increased your ability in the past month and a half?
Well, it definitely got me into actual shape,
Yeah.
which I apparently have been lacking for the past, I don't know, 15 years.
Wow.
Uh, I haven't swam even last year. Last year I was like, all right, I'm trying to do the PTO races. I need to get better. It was like maybe I had one or two 20K weeks, and this is very abnormal for a pro,
Yeah.
apparently. People have so much time. Well, most people don't have
Kids.
small children.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've never been able, before kids, I just wanted to coast along and do the easiest possible, least amount of work. So I think I was then still swimming 12K for no reason except that I was lazy.
Wow.
But then after kids, I was swimming 12K because that's all I had time for.
Yeah.
And so this year, the toe, I think it was like, even right after I was like, oh, this is God. Like, I won't, I won't do the swimming. I won't do the biking. This is him like lightning striking my toe.
Yeah.
So I actually do the work I need to do.
There you go.
So it just had to happen. So it made me do the swim 20K a week. And then I also, during those weeks, rode 15 hours a week,
Yeah.
which I also have
That's really awesome.
historically not done. So,
Yeah.
so I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna see all-time best swim and bike for you, hopefully, at the
Oh, I don't
T100.
know. I'm not sure. I don't know.
So, two questions. What's your favorite swim set?
I love swimming hard 100s.
Yeah.
I love a whole ton of hundreds on like descending rest where it's almost like you get to like where you can't make it anymore.
Yeah. Sucking air through every orifice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got my first experience at that. So I was in Arizona with a bunch of people that are way above my ability and swam. Do you know what Aqua Bears? Have you heard of this place in Tucson?
Yeah, I swam with him. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy experience. I got moved up a few lanes, so that was really cool. But they were having us do, I think we did, I'd never swam above 5,500. We did like a 6,200 set or something. And it was, yeah, 75 hard, 25. Anyway, it was super hard and it was descending. And I was sucking wind so hard. But it gave me a new understanding of how hard one can go when you're pushed in those environments. It's so cool to swim with a group like that where you have people on your feet and you have people in front of you and you got to keep with it.
Yeah,
It was really fun.
it's very helpful. That was my other thing this year is I'm swimming maybe only one time a week by myself. That
Okay.
because I swim so much better when I have other people
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
It matters so much.
Yeah. This I had a second question, and I believe it was about biking, and now I'm completely blank. Oh yes, biking. So with when you race, do you use like power numbers as like a standard that you set, and you're shooting for those numbers, or are you one of those fly blind and just go as hard as you can and kind of self regulate?
Well, funny story about the biking. Up until end of last year, my bike computer on my tri bike has never been in a place that I could actually see it. It's been like in this ridiculous spot, like on the top of the bottle, but like way like below where my eyes could see it without like looking away from
What's
what I'm
going on?
doing.
Yeah, that's
So
weird.
I've never ever, even in training, really looked at the computer much.
Wow.
And recently, like end of last year, I got a mount, which was so easy to do,
Yeah.
and put it right up there by the bars, and it has been life changing.
It's been 15 years. Well, why did you have a bike computer?
Well, I like collecting the data and seeing what's what.
So most of your stuff was perceived effort then? Like, okay, 6 out of 10 or max
Yeah,
effort.
yeah,
Wow, good for you.
yeah. So I have a real great sense of feel.
Yeah,
I know
what
I'm real
number
in tune
feels
with
like.
that.
Yeah,
But it's been so fun just being able to, this sounds so
interact.
silly, but just having my computer up there to like be able to do workouts,
Yeah,
like out on the road has been really great. Um,
I
and and even during the race, like sometimes I'm like, all right, I don't want to see it. This is like, because then it gets in my head like this
yeah,
is too much. This is too high. I can't do this.
yeah.
Those type of thoughts. So I'm gonna have to maybe work through that. But overall, I tend to err on the side of not going hard enough.
Mm,
So seeing the numbers and being like, wow, I think I'm pushing hard, but actually I'm a total wuss and I'm like tricking myself. I'm
yeah,
saving too much. I'm not trying hard enough
yeah.
because
I
like I said, I like things to be very easy. So I try to keep it as easy.
Jackie is transforming this year, ladies and gentlemen. She's gonna be hitting her power numbers. Are you self-coached?
I have been for a lot of years, but I've been working now with Ian O'Brien since fall time.
Okay. Has he been an influence of this bring your bike computer to the realm of your eyes movement?
Well, he was giving me workouts that he wanted me to complete, and I thought I can't actually do these because I can't see my thing.
That's so funny.
So I
I
thought I
love the
better move my
honesty.
computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So has he been a happier coach now that he can see that the numbers are being hit, or at least there's less of a margin between?
I'm not sure. I think he's getting to know me still. I think there's a window of time where you have to try and understand people and figure out
Yeah.
how people work, and I think we're still in that like building the relationship phase.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was self-coached for like 8 years. So I'm going to be a much different person
Sure.
to get a handle on than somebody who's used to just following
Yeah.
what they're told to do.
Yeah.
So maybe not the easiest person, but I'm trying.
Yeah, for sure. That's exciting. Yeah, we should do a follow-up episode sometime to hear how that's going because I'm sure that is a big shift. I recently just made a coaching change, and that was a huge shift for me because the mentalities were a bit different between the two. So I can only imagine going from self-coaching to somebody else being not the boss, but sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back in 2019, you had your eyes set on Ironman 70.3 World Championship in New Zealand. COVID happened, and you said that you were planning on that race being your retiring race. So you've had some amazing experiences since then that you talked about. So maybe talk a little bit about those. And then the second part of that question is what pushed you to continue through that?
Yeah, so that's funny. In my So in 2019, my daughter was 1. I had her in 2018, and I think it took a lot of effort with a baby and a 2-year-old to get back in shape. And I was like, there is no way I can continue this. I'm going to do world champs and just be done and be a normal mom. And to me, that seemed like the most sensible thing to do. But I, I don't know, something happened where I think I got over the hump of the new baby phase, and I started actually feeling really good and feeling and noticing that, wow, I'm in just way better shape than I've ever been before.
Yeah.
And, of course, my husband is like a way bigger believer in me than I ever am in myself. And he just said, like, why do you have to be done? You don't have to be done.
Yeah.
You can keep doing this if you want to keep doing this. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I do. And it was just as simple as that, where I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling actually my best ever.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, and yeah, why not just keep going for it?
Yeah. So where does your mind need to be, or where do you want your mind to be in order to actually retire?
Well, I mean, I think there's gonna come. I don't think it's gonna be so much of my mind as it is just like
The body?
my body. Yeah, I think, just I signed a bunch of 2-year contracts this year, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I know I will go good for 2 years. I can feel that I'm still making improvements. I'm still going well. I think I'm moving up to the Ironman distance, and I think that does suit me better now that I have time to actually do it. So I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm going to see how I'm feeling. And if it's not fun, or if I don't feel like I'm doing something that feels good or purposeful, then I'll probably be done. But if it still feels good, and even if I'm slowing down a little, but I feel like I still have a purpose in the sport, then maybe I'll keep going.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What do you feel like your purpose is within the sport?
I think right now I feel purpose around a few things. One is just being a mom, and
Yeah.
and being a pro, and being a mom that is not super rigid, and just I don't go on training camps. Like, I just live a normal life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't being a pro doesn't mean you have to go do these extravagant things. You don't have to leave your family. You can
Yeah.
be with your family. And your family can be a normal family
Mm.
that goes to school, and my husband has a job, and like, we're just normal people.
Yeah.
So I feel purpose around sharing that part of the story. And I also feel just purpose around kind of the journey that I've been on, which is an age grouper, just being like a normal, like, middle of the pack pro for several years, and just kind of putting in my time, and just getting better, like slowly better. That sometimes, like, just sticking with things,
Yeah.
you can get better. You just learn every year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as long as you're learning and progressing, even if you have like you said, last year wasn't like your best year, but you can still see that. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
So just a couple of more questions here and then I'll let you go. But so identity, we've talked a lot about that. You seem very comfortable in, and I don't say that in a bad way, but like content in knowing who you are. it seems like a mom first, and then this professional athlete, and you're trying to live a normal life, or you are living a normal life. But I'm curious, when you transition and you decide to like move on from the triathlon world, do you think it will be difficult to change or change how you view your own identity, your own kind of self-perception?
No. Um, if somebody said that I am done racing triathlon for whatever reason, like literally right now, uh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. I mean, I love triathlon, don't get me wrong. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
It is something I love, but it's definitely not my identity.
Yeah.
I love so many things.
Yeah.
And I think that there will be it's going to become clear what the next thing to do is, and this I'm learning so much being part of triathlon for so long and meeting all these different people from all over the world in this sport, and I'm actually really excited to see what I might end up doing next after this.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. Do you have any inclination of what you might want to do next?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Chemist?
not really. No. Although, my old boss, we still go to the same church as him, and he randomly,
Do
like
you still need a job?
once every 5 years, he'll say, Jackie, you could still work for me if you ever want to. And if there was ever anyone I would work for,
Yeah.
it would be him.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do the actual work that is required to work for him.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I got an open mind, and I've got a lot of different skills, and I feel like, especially where we live here, we're very tied into our community. So
Yeah.
I'm sure something will come up.
Yeah. Good deal. So for a final question, I want you to pretend that a young 20-something, or maybe even under 20, is considering to go to be a professional triathlete. What is some advice that you would give to them?
I would tell them to do what feels right. I would say be flexible and keep an open mind,
Mhm.
and don't be rigid. Keep it fun.
Be fluid.
Um, there is no set path, and if you don't have success right away, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not the right choice. It just means that you might be on more of a long-term path, and
Mm.
that's okay.
Yeah. Good
I don't
deal.
know.
I have to say this because it's hitting my brain. Have you seen the movie or read the book Memoirs of a Geisha?
Um, is that kind of older? I don't
It is
remember.
older. It is older, but there's this concept that one of the wise characters says to the younger, not so wise character is like she sees that she is like water, or she is water. And the whole premise of the book is kind of related around this concept of being water and being able to flow freely. And like you're saying, not being rigid. And I think that's a really important
Yeah.
lesson that everybody can walk away with. And it just like when you were saying that, it just kept firing in my brain. So I had to bring it up. But be like water. That's kind of Jackie's advice.
I'll have to
Yeah.
look that up. That
Yeah.
sounds great.
Yeah. It's a great film and great book. But,
Yeah.
well, Jackie, thank you so much for coming on, sharing some very personal stuff about your life and letting me pry, and then sharing about your triathlon journey. I think that if there's one theme of this episode, it's right over your probably right shoulder, maybe left if your if your camera's, reversed. But it says mom. So I thought that was so cool. I was looking at that as you were talking through all of the different aspects of your life. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It's been an honor.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Would you be interested in winning some free triathlon training gear from the company Synergy Wetsuits? If so, listen up. We are going to be working with them in partnership for the year of 2024, doing several different giveaways. This is the first of several giveaways, and this is going to be starting on March 8th and will be ending on March 22nd. The gear up for grabs is going to be a swim cap, swim paddles, and race belt. If you're interested, check out the link in our show notes to the Stupid Questions podcast Instagram page, where you'll find the most recent post on March 8th that has all the details on how to enter that giveaway. Thank you so much to Synergy Wetsuits for sponsoring these giveaways, and we look forward to hopefully picking you. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Stupid Questions podcast with Jackie Herring. Huge shout out to Jackie for coming on and allowing me to dive pretty deep into her life and the belief systems that she holds and why she believes those things. It was really neat to hear her perspective on things. Secondly, just want to wish her all the best in this continued year of 2024 as she races around the world and her big race in Hamburg and other races to come. Just a super awesome experience to talk to her. If you made it to this point in the podcast, just want to say thank you so much. Wherever you're listening, if you don't mind giving a like, a subscribe, or giving a review on that platform, it really does help us to grow. I need to quit saying so much. Last thing, if you do want to be a part of a newsletter, you can go and sign up at our website, stupidquestions.show. You can go down there, scroll all the way to the bottom, or click the link up at the top that says to sign up for the newsletter, and then you will get a newsletter from us, hopefully pretty soon. We're going to start sending those out. All right, thank you so much, and we will catch you guys in the next one.